Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and arrives at episode number 358. No matter where you go, there's no escaping smooth jazz. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
Pretty well.
Very well.
Feeling very festive today.
Very festive.
Why is that?
I got some decorating done this weekend. We decorated upstairs yesterday, got the tree up, got all the festive Christmas decorations upstairs done, and then tonight Mason and I put the tree, well, mostly Mason, put up the tree downstairs and then decorated the room downstairs as well. So
I too did a large portion of that. Mel, we had family over obviously for Thanksgiving, and Mel cleaned. She did that deep, oh my God, people are coming over clean. And not that I'll admit to that, but we did that. And so she had everything dusted and wiped down and, moved things that don't normally get moved in order to clean. And I was like, nobody's going to see that because if we don't move it, they're not going to come over and move it. But okay, whatever. So we did all that. And then she went running out with Corey to go early Black Friday shopping, which is their tradition, even though I try to stop them. So we had Katrina, and I was like, well, let's start decorating. So we went and pulled all the boxes up from the basement and took all the stuff she had just dusted and boxed it up so that we could start putting out Christmas stuff. I was like, well, you made a spot for it, so here we go. We got that done most Thursday, and then it kind of bled over into Saturday. Friday, we went to the Kansas City Zoo and had a great time. It was a beautiful day for it, and Cheyenne stayed awake for all of it. And we figured she'd zone out and sleep in the stroller for parts of it. No, she was there for all of it, and Katrina had a good time, and we looked at everything. So we had a really long day Friday. And we finished decorating Saturday and watched, all of the movies. I feel like it was just a constant grab, because I brought I have a list of all the Christmas movies that I own, and all the Christmas-ish movies that I own, and all of the TV shows that feature a Christmas episode. I made a list last year, and so I grabbed all of them off the shelf, so that way I know I'm not missing any of them. I brought them all up, and we just had them in the player all day long while we were finishing our decorating, and then we would break and play games, and we'd have stuff on in the background, and I still hate Nightmare Before Christmas. I don't like that one.
We went up to Denver to see my sister for Thanksgiving.
How did that go?
It went pretty good. Wednesday we left, and Gemma did pretty good in the car. She took quite a few naps and fussed a couple of times. And then we obviously had Thanksgiving and kind of just relaxed and did some shopping on Friday. Not Black Friday shopping, mostly just wandering around downtown. And then went to a mall not really a mall, more like a kind of like a Legends type area.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Let's move on to news.
Nothing happened this week. Absolutely nothing of any interest, especially if you're a Tom Baker fan. Nothing happened.
Yeah, that's our first bit of news. So they've announced that Tom Baker put the costume back on and refilmed a new section for Shada, which I believe just came out in the UK.
Yes, it did. I think it dropped on Thursday, didn't it?
I think so. Yeah, Thursday or probably Friday, I think I saw.
Was it Friday? Okay.
I can't remember. One of the days. So when it comes out in January, we'll get to take a look and see.
Guess I got to put that on the schedule then, huh?
Yes. Well, this article says December 4th.
Oh, is it?
For the U.S. release?
No, for the
U.S.
UK.
is January.
For the UK
for the
release.
UK.
Although the Blu-ray is region-free.
None of the rest of my... Well, that's not true, because my newer seasons are Blu-ray. So.
That's pretty exciting.
Plus, you already have a Shada on DVD, so you can have a Shada on Blu-ray.
Obviously, we've reported on Shada. We've reviewed Shada. And I was kind of like, okay, cool, it's coming out finally, and animated. This will be great. This will be fun. But I wasn't like beside myself excited for it. Now I'm beside myself excited for it, and that sounds really bad. But just the fact
for a little cameo scene,
because I'm sure it's a nothing. It's going to be all of 2 minutes, if that, and it doesn't matter. Bring it. Tom back in costume.
What do you guys think of some of the new footage they've released of it, because we got another teaser or actual trailer for it.
I think it looks really good.
I think so too.
I'm getting upset with the little state-of-the-art animation thing that's on the new teaser, but with state-of-the-art animation. What? That's not state-of-the-art.
You might
It
want to
looks
look
good, but
might
it's
want to look that up.
It's not
Brand new
state-of-the-art.
animation, maybe.
Yes, but not state-of-the-art.
Hey, it might be new to them.
Well, it is new. It's
Yeah,
new
that's a-
animation.
Doesn't
Although,
make it state-of-the-art.
Just like when BBC got a hold of the what was it called, the Quala, when they started doing all the visual effects through the
Vidfire?
not Vidfire. It started with a Q.
Oh, Quantel.
Well, when they got Quantel, it was new to them. So
Yeah.
maybe whoever this is got the animation program, and they're like, it's the state of the art.
Quantel was state-of-the-art back when they were using that back in the UK, but this is not state-of-the-art.
No. Did you guys see the ITV gaff? Sean, did you see that?
I didn't see this.
Apparently they ran a news story about Shada. And some of the clips they played were from the Ian Levine animation.
Oh.
And the look on, I saw a clip from the show, and the look on Tom's face when they're telling him that that's him, doing the voice, and he's like, no.
They had Baker on.
And
was,
Baker on, and just the look on his face was like,
That's
oh,
not
that was,
me.
oh my god.
Some intern got fired over that.
Wow. Makes me wonder where they got it, because that was all on torrent sites when that
Had
came
to
out.
dig
That
for
got
that,
released.
yeah.
That's crazy. Of course, you know, Ian Levine's probably just the sticking it to the BBC, because
Yeah.
they wouldn't option his stuff. So.
Did you happen to see, not that you guys pay any attention to the WIBW news site on Facebook, but did you happen to see the morning video? I do these little morning videos, like what today is. And so, like, you know, today is Thursday, September 24th, and it's blah, 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 those kind of things. You know, National Eat a Fig Day, whatever these silly made-up holidays are. So for the Thanksgiving one that I put together that got posted, it was, you know, boom, 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 range-free turkey day or gluten-free, I don't know what they all are, meatless Thanksgiving, you know, turkey-free Thanksgiving, that's apparently Thanksgiving Day. But I did Thanksgiving Day as like the next to the last one. And then the next page started, because sometimes they loop over to the second page, and the next page was Doctor Who Day, and I had a little TARDIS appear and everything like that.
Oh,
And I
cool.
went,
Oh, nice.
yeah, did you know what today is? It's not Thanksgiving. It's Doctor Who Day.
Yes.
And it ran. I'm so happy. So yes, if you saw that on Facebook, that was me.
Elsewhere in news, Big Finish has announced that Derek Jacobi's War Master is joining Units in a Big Finish crossover.
Ooh.
So in the
And
sixth,
it's current unit, right? It's
Yeah,
Gemma Redgrave and
yes,
yeah.
Volume 6, Cyber Reality. They're facing off against the Cybermen,
No, don't spoil it.
and Derek Jacobi, as the War Master, becomes a scientific advisor to Kate Stewart and her team.
Ooh, that's intriguing.
That's a nice twist. So this is Derek Jacobi's third series with Big Finish. So with his own, and then Gallifrey Time War, and now this.
Very cool.
Can somebody at Big Finish please come up with a cool way of doing the Five Masters? I really want this to be a thing now.
Yeah.
Now that they've got
Yeah.
licensing for,
Sure.
let's just somebody do it.
They could at least, very least, if they could get the actors,
They'd have to
the
get
four actors,
they'd
the
have to
four
get-
masters.
well, do we go back and do? I guess you could do.
You could do the six masters.
Well,
really.
the thing is, you'll have to have a sound alike for Delgado and Ainley if you go back that far.
Unless they do like they did for the 50th and have just little snippets of previous
Audio.
dialogue.
Yeah, they could do that.
Or one of them could get caught in a...
Both of them could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jeffrey Beavers is still around.
So Jeffrey
Yeah.
Beavers...
And Derek Jacobi,
They could
John
get,
Sim, Michelle Gomez. Who was the one that played
if they could get Eric Roberts.
Eric Roberts? Who was the one that played the first crusty version of the Doctor or of the Day Master? Because Beavers was the second one.
Beavers was
in
Ping Pong Ball Heist.
No, Beavers was Tarkin.
Oh, okay. He was
So
he was
Deadly Assassin would be
Deadly Assassin
the
was
one
Ping
I'm
Pong
missing,
Ball.
and I can't
I
remember.
can't
I
remember.
think he had passed, hadn't he?
I think maybe he has. So he's passed as well.
And then
But
they have their Dark Eyes Master they
Yeah.
have to incorporate too.
So they were almost there.
Well,
they could have so many.
you could do a five masters
Masters
because
without
you
even
do
worrying
have
about the
five.
others.
You could do
Even
Beavers.
without Eric Roberts.
Yeah, you could do Beavers, Jacoby, Gomez, Sims, and I can't remember the guy that's the Dark
Bald
Eyes
guy.
Master. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he was in.
I feel vaguely bad that I don't know this guy's name, but we haven't got to any of those yet, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of forgivable.
Well, I know him from the thick of it. He was a character in that.
Oh, is he on that?
Yeah, he was in that show, but can't remember the actor's name. Anyway, that'd be kind of fun. I think I should.
Yeah, that would be.
If you're listening, Big Finish,
You're welcome.
make it happen. You're welcome.
It's okay to say you're welcome.
Well, we talked more about doing a Five Masters than we did about Unit Volume 6 coming out.
It's hard to get. For me, I'm so far behind on these unit box sets that I'm excited about it, but it's so far in the future that I have like 3, 4, and 5 to go through before I can even worry about 6. So.
I did get the 10th Doctor Volume 2 with 10 and Rose, and I'm about halfway through the second story right now. So, and it's
Is it as good as Volume
quite
1?
enjoyable, although Rose doesn't quite sound like Rose to me. I think that's because she's aged a bit, but she does get into character more so in this story that I'm in the middle of now than she did the first one. But and Jackie's in the first one as well. So
I think I knew
spoilers.
that. Yeah.
But it's fun. Oh man, David Tennant. He just. I know you guys are sometimes a little sour on Tennant, but man, he's so good.
I don't know that I've ever been
He's so
sour on
good.
Tennant.
You're sour on Rose.
I'm sour
You're
on
sour on
Rose.
Rose.
And
Yeah.
sour on Tennant with
That's
Rose.
probably what it is.
No, I don't sour on Tennant with Rose. I just
Sours the entire time?
no
Because of Rose? Rose sours the entire time for you.
No, I
You
just,
hate Rose. You want her to die a horrible death.
Anyway,
I never said
David
that.
Tennant is a wonderful doctor. And
I agree. David Tennant is a wonderful doctor.
He in these stories, he just doesn't feel like he's missed a beat. It's so
great.
much good. I'll be excited if Matt Smith does 11 Doctor stories. That'll
Oh,
be fun,
yeah, me too.
What else do we have?
Well, Candy Jar has announced that, as it should have been all along, The Lost Skin is going to come out as a novella.
Yay! We'll finally find out what happens.
Unfortunately, that means Part 3 is not in Havoc Files 4.
Which I think we kind of knew anyway.
We knew that, but that was under the hat.
But
But
that
we
being
get
said-
50% new material
Yes.
in a novella format.
yeah, so we'll
So that means when we go to review it, we have to start over and read
start back
everything.
over and read everything.
Well, that's okay. I had to reread 1 and when we reviewed 2, so just par for the course now.
That's, I think, really exciting and a smart move on their part because, it deserves to be its own hard
thing. I would
back
agree. It's such a good
edition.
and intriguing story so far, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So I think this is exciting news that we'll get all of it together.
No official release date yet.
Not yet, anyway.
Surely next year sometime.
Yeah. And Glenn, you have the last bit of news.
Yeah, this was just an interesting thing, and then actually, I think I saw it on the Radio Times. The big reveal of Jodie Whittaker's coat or outfit. Apparently, the jacket, the exterior jacket, the coat, the long waistcoat,
The wrong color.
The wrong color. So apparently, and of course, everybody rushed out, especially at LI Who the weekend it came out, and we're getting their cosplay together, and now they're all fretting that they have the wrong color. Yeah, apparently that what appears to be kind of maybe a tan look is actually bluish.
And that comes direct from the
It comes from-
costumer.
Yeah,
right?
what's his name?
A cross between sky blue and lilac.
Yes.
Edward Russell.
Edward Russell, yeah. So, there's another guy called Tranford Anderson who I think mocked up this. If you go to, I'll put a link on the show notes, but on the Radio Times, they did this article on it. And he tweeted back to him a photoshopped image that has tweaked the coat color. And Russell was pleased with it. He said, spot on from my memory. So if you want to go look what it actually looks like, there is a Photoshop treatment of it, and it is a little bit more blue lilac looking. So doesn't change my opinion at all of the costume because I think it still looks tremendous.
Kind of like the blue a little more. Kind of ties everything together a bit more, I think, because she already has different shades of blue anyways.
Yeah.
It makes the pants stand out more.
I knew that was the danger of bringing this news item up.
I can see her ankles.
It doesn't matter the color of the coat. Sean can see your ankles.
Well, now it makes me wonder what color the TARDIS actually is. Let's talk the important part of this photo. How doctored is it?
That's what Russell was saying, that because of some weird lighting thing with
it's got a filter on it,
so,
but to give it that
kind of that
sunset.
warm sunset look, or maybe sunrise.
Magic hour.
Yep.
Yes.
Anyway, so that's all the news that I have.
Well, let's move on to some feedback. First up in feedback, Chrissy.
Good, because I have that one.
I saw that on your phone. Thought about messing with you and saying you did it first.
Chrissy says, somebody has to say it. Dear Vortex boys, hi guys. So this feedback is really long, and I apologize for that. I tried to edit it down, but I'm just not good at keeping things short, especially when it's something I feel it's important to say. Although feel free to cut out my PS if you feel like it's too PG-13. Ooh, now I can't wait to read the PS. I don't remember if I read that or not. Here goes. I've been behind on listening to your podcasts, not just yours, but in general. I've been trying to catch up, and I just got to the part where you three talk about Jodie Whittaker's costume as the 13th Doctor. I'd like to add my 2 cents, and a little tough love, if I may. I will preface this by saying I have not seen a single episode of Mork and Mindy. But my very first thought upon seeing the outfit was, this is if Mork from Mork and Steve Urkel got together to dress somebody. I hate the pants so much. I hate pants that show someone's socks. It's one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to clothing. When I was in middle school, in that stupid, awkward adolescent stage where it felt like I was growing 2 inches every week, I was insanely self-conscious about my pants being too short and my socks showing. It's something that stuck with me throughout life. I hate it when people can see my socks. Even when it became the in thing to do, it drives me crazy to see people in pants that don't cover up your socks. It's not a sexualized thing. It's a don't you know how to dress yourself thing.
This is why Sean was so on point of getting this feedback to ready to read.
Oh, yeah. I think Keith had said that Sarah thought the outfit looked childish. And that's probably the nicest description I can think of this. The coat looks good, though. I want that coat. Honestly, I think the pants would look better if it was long skirt instead. Cosplayers have been creating skirts for female versions of the Doctors for years. Why not take a cue from them? Long skirts, sometimes called maxi skirts, are wonderfully comfortable and quite practical, but still look nice. I've worn them to do all kinds of things, whether indoors or outdoors, which has sometimes included running for one reason or another. They are like pajama pants of skirts. Plus, nobody cares if a maxi skirt is too short. It's just there. A skirt doesn't have to be a mini skirt to look good. If I ever cosplay this Doctor, my first move will be to find a long teal skirt instead of pants. And apparently, I can say this since I'm female. I'll get into that in a moment. But I think it's silly that everyone's clamored for the, quote, first female Doctor, end quote, for years and years, and we finally get one. And the first thing they do is dress her in such a way that makes her look like she's anything but female. Good grief, pick a lane, BBC. Do you want a female Doctor, or do you want a male Doctor with boobs? If that's the case, just build an androgynous robot to play the part in perpetuity and forget about casting any human actors at all. Disclaimer, the views expressed in this feedback are purely those of Chrissy and not necessarily those of the hosts of Traveling the Vortex. Unless they want to agree, then they're free to do so. That brings me to that tough love I mentioned earlier. Not just for you guys, but for many Doctor Who fans, male and female, that I've seen tiptoeing around the subject. Yes, it's great that there's a woman playing the part of the Doctor. Yes, it's nice that it was set up in-universe that Time Lords can regenerate into the opposite sex. Yes, Jodie Whittaker is a good choice to play the part, from what little I've seen of her at least. I also want fans to be able to speak honestly about their opinions of the show moving forward, not just about Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, but also about the way the show is run. I'm a little nervous about how things are going to go in the next season. Chris Chibnall's Doctor Who episodes have been very hit or miss in the past. He'll either do something amazing, like The Power of Three, or it'll be something kind of blah like 42. That's definitely Chrissy's opinion on that. I don't know about I like 42. But I did like the first season of Broadchurch, but I couldn't get into season 2 at all. My concern is that the quality of the next season of Doctor Who will be similarly inconsistent. I hope I'm proven wrong, that things will just click together perfectly and the show will be amazing like in years past. But for now, I'm a bit skeptical. Problem is that I've expressed that opinion, and heard others say similar things, and almost without fail, the first response from someone else has been, well, you're just mad about the Doctor being female. Why are you so sexist? Oh, the irony. So, because I haven't fully bought on to the new cast and crew of Doctor Who yet, any criticism or concerns I have are only because there's a woman playing the Doctor, and I must hate women and never want them in any kind of leading role whatsoever knee-jerk response fandom's morality police want to throw at me. Yes, that's the only reason I have for not jumping wholeheartedly onto this bandwagon. Please note sarcasm used here. To keep my response G-rated... That's utter nonsense. Not just because I'm female, and I think my opinion should get special treatment because of my genetics, it would also be nonsense to level that accusation at anyone who voices a critical opinion, no matter if they're male or female. And this is the point I want to make. I don't want you guys to ever feel like you have to tiptoe around a negative review or reaction you have about new Doctor Who going forward. So what if there's a woman playing the Doctor? Neither she nor the cast nor the crew around her are immune from criticism, just as none of her predecessors have been. Maybe an episode has horrible writing. Maybe the monster looks ridiculous. Maybe Whittaker's performance wasn't as good as it could have been. Go ahead and say so. I certainly have done. There were things in a Matt Smith or Peter Capaldi or David Tennant episode that I didn't care for, up to and including how the lead actors did in their roles. I'm happy to say there's been a lot more good than bad, and I hope that doesn't change. My point is that not every negative reaction can simply be attributed to whatever ism you can think of, and I'm getting sick of fandom acting like it can be. In a way, this is also a rant against fandom and some of their current attitudes. This is probably a losing prospect, though. Fandom's a stubborn and annoying beast. I'm not getting mad at you three for this at all. I just felt like there was a little hesitation when you guys talked about Whittaker's costume. Guys, please praise and or criticize Jodie Whittaker's Doctor the same way you would praise and or criticize Peter Capaldi or Matt Smith or John Pertwee or Peter Davison or Colin Baker or even Tom Baker. This goes for things that she has no control over as well. Sometimes writers and showrunners make bad choices too. I don't want you three to feel like you have to stifle your opinions on anything just because a Time Lady is driving the TARDIS. Now, maybe you really haven't been hesitant in your thoughts at all, and I'm jumping to conclusions. But take this as a friend and a fan of the podcast offering you her feedback. I know I'm just one listener, but I won't be offended by your honest thoughts on anything, positive or negative. I don't have to agree with everything you guys think. I can think of more than a few times I've vehemently disagreed with one or more of you. But you've been honest, and that's what I care the most about. I just want to hear your thoughts from the heart, and that's all. Whew, that was a long feedback. Please know that it comes from a place of love, both for this show that we're all fans of and for this great podcast that's brought us all together as friends. Onward to Christmas, and no matter what happens, bring on the 13th Doctor. Chrissy. Oh, yeah, we can read that. Right? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
P.S. Again, this is 100% my opinion and not the boys'. I think it would be hilarious if 13 came out of Regeneration and cracked a joke about having boobs. I have boobs now. Boobs are cool. It probably won't happen because it's not terribly appropriate, but I would laugh so hard if it happened. Evil cackle. Chrissy.
Thanks, Chrissy.
I like how you looked at me and see if we could read that. Like, I'm the editor anyway, so I'll cut it out if you want.
You are standards and practices around here.
I am standards and practices, yes.
There are many things that I say that it's not until after it comes tumbling out of my mouth that I go, oh, maybe that one wasn't appropriate. And I have to talk to the editor later, but I figured we'd clear it ahead of time.
I'd like to address this because I think, Chrissy, I admire this post, this email, immensely, because I think you do speak from the heart here, and I think that you're absolutely right in everything you say. I do want to address the fact that I do take some umbrage to specifically Jodie's costume, feeling like I personally tiptoed around it, because I don't think I did. Although I think I'm the one that came out with high praise for it, and I said everything about it, and I don't think I held back anything that I felt about this. I love it. I think, again, my statements were it doesn't over-sexualize her, but it also doesn't under-feminize her. I think it's the perfect meld. I love it. I didn't tiptoe it around it at all. To address that point, I also think that you're right in the sense that people should speak from their heart. But I think what I find is, as ambassadors of the show ourselves, because we are a Doctor Who podcast, what I've never wanted to do was get into a situation where there are other podcasts and other Doctor Who fans out there that they do nothing but berate the show. And I think what I've always come from a point of view of, my mom taught me, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. And so that's where I come from. Now, I don't think any of us have really ever held back on our absolute views of certain things. But because, I mean, if we don't like something, we say we don't like something. But I don't feel like I've ever tiptoed around something I've been critical about or disgusted with. I maybe just didn't outpour too blatantly about it as I would if, yes, my praise sometimes comes through more than my critique or criticism of something, whether it's bad or good. So I think you're absolutely in the right for saying that. I think that you're absolutely right about the statements of fandom, and people should be able to have their own opinions about things. I just want I want it to be clear to you that for me personally, I am not ever tiptoeing around anything. But I may hold back if something I'm really critical about something. I would rather, as an ambassador of Doctor Who, the show, if we were a podcast that did generically pop culture and things like that, I think I would probably be more critical, because I know there would be things that I could be more critical about because it was across the board, everything fandom. From this perspective as Doctor Who, we have that motto that I think is a good motto, that anything Doctor Who is good Doctor Who. Because it's Doctor Who. Not because everything in Doctor Who is good and great and we love it, but because it's Doctor Who, I want to keep a positive, energetic notion about the program and the topic as a whole. So, again, if I don't have anything good to say about something, I'd rather say less about it than just completely berate something that I don't like. So that's where I come from in that. And I don't think we've ever really, I've never really tiptoed around anything. I can't speak for my other co-hosts, but if I feel passionately about something, I mostly will say something about it. But yes, my praise comes through a lot more than my critiques.
Well, we've always tried to find the silver lining in everything we watch, especially Who related, I think, in general. So, yeah, I try not to tiptoe around it either. If I seemed hesitant about the costume, it's because it's a costume and I don't really care that much. It's okay, that's what they're gonna wear. Let me get to the story and the acting, and give me the meat. Stop this whipped cream. I don't care about the whipped cream.
Now that Glenn and Keith have finished tiptoeing around their answer, about tiptoeing around the answer, I'll be the first person to say, yeah, I tiptoed all over my response. But I think that's because I was the one that was the most disappointed with it. I did not like the outfit. I still don't like the outfit, and I don't care if the coat's periwinkle, lavender, or tan. I don't like the look. But, yes, I can say that I tiptoed around it because, like Glenn, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, especially when it comes to the way a lady dresses. And we all have ladies in our lives, and they all come to us and say, hey, I'm going to wear this tonight. What do you think? And at no point in time do I feel comfortable, even if that's what you're going to wear, which may be the thought process. At no point in time do I actually get to say that. Now, I'll find creative ways of maybe trying to spin that, like, I'm not sure about those shoes with the rest of that outfit, or maybe if you changed the pants, the shoes would look better. Something that's, putting a more constructive spin on it. But just to come out and say, wow, you're dressed like... that's just not something that's in my nature to do. So yes, I feel like I tiptoed around it a lot. But And in some ways, yes, the all who is good who motto, in a way, can be counterproductive, because I think we've always tried to be honest. And I know now that I'll go back even and listen to some of the old podcasts where we gave the horn to a story, and I kind of think to myself that was unfair. And on second look, that I don't think that was as bad as I made it out to be. Or maybe there's a review that I thought, I really should have lambasted that a little bit harder because I don't think I got my point across very well. So there's a constant back and forth with it. But yes, Chrissy, I appreciate your honesty, and I will endeavor to be as honest as I can be without falling into that fandom trap of everything sucks and my childhood is ruined and oh my God, why can't they just do it like they used to do it, because that's the way it is. And I don't want to be that person.
We
and
strive not to do that.
Whether it's here or Flicks with Friends or whatever it is, I don't want to be the negative Nancy. So that's my take on that.
And we want to also encourage all of our listeners to not tiptoe around anything that you don't like. Just be like Chrissy did and send in whatever you think, no matter what.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever edited any bit of feedback.
I don't think we've ever not read a bit of feedback either.
That's why I say I don't think we've ever edited it in such a
way.
And
if we don't read something, we explain why we won't read it, because it's saving for later, or
be it spoilery, or
I
mean, we obviously are going to edit something that has language in it because we are a PG,
yes,
PG rated show, not necessarily G, but PG. All right, we got more feedback.
We do have more feedback. Up next is Ben. Ben writes, "Hey guys, it's been a while. That's mostly because I fell at work about 7 weeks ago and sprained my ankle pretty bad.
Oh.
I did the same thing on the same leg about 6 years ago. On that occasion, the foot broke. This time there was too much calcification as a result of that break for it to break again."
Well, I guess there's that.
Not sure if that's better or worse. Consequently, everything else in the ankle snapped and twanged, etc.
Oh.
Anyway, I normally listen in the mail truck while I'm driving around, since I'm stuck in the office with management. Answering phones and other piddly work, the podcasts are stacking up. That's both good and bad. When I get back to it, I will have plenty to catch up on. I'm still listening as I am able to, but I'm not completely I'm not completely backed up. Moving along, there isn't much going on around here. I've been able to get some reading in. I started and finished The Book of Phoenix by Nnedi Okorafor. I'm sure I butchered that. This is the prequel to Who Fears Death. Sorry. This is a prequel to Who Fears Death. Phoenix is...
Who Fears Death.
Yes.
Okay, I'm with you.
Who Fears Death.
Not a guy named Hoophere.
Hoophere.
This guy named Hoophere died.
After the author's name, my brain just kind of went and rammed all of that together, and I went, God, I feel bad, Keith. I'm sorry. I
just went to John Hoophere's funeral the other day.
That's a mouthful. Oh, Who Fears Death. Okay, I'm not making fun of the way you're reading it.
No. It's a mouthful.
It's just a mouthful.
Phoenix is a much more sci-fi oriented book than Who Fears Death was.
Did you write it together on purpose?
Maybe a little bit.
All right.
Yeah, I thought he enunciated that one a little bit better.
Both are really good and are recommended. After finishing that, I moved on to Anne Leckie's Ancillary Trilogy. This started with Ancillary Justice. It was really good, but takes a much different approach / style. This made it a little confusing to get through. I'm currently on the second book, Ancillary Sword. I'm more used to the universe than that Leckie is building. Still a bit confusing, though. I would definitely recommend this series, though. Also recently read The Flaming Soldier, which was quite good. And now we are 600. My favorite was the poem about Canine. Duh. Lastly, as you fellows noticed, to some degree, I have completed my collection of the Fourth Doctor Target books. The majority are second editions, which still makes them 30 to 40 years old in most cases. Perhaps for next year's Goodreads reading challenge, I'll knock them out as a group, minus the few that I've already read. Lastly, by the time this hits the interwebs airwaves, it will be old news, but The Lost Skin is now available to pre-order. Of course, I've already done this already, as it's limited to 400 copies. Folks may want to move on this quick. It's sure to be a corker. That's it for now. We all know that I forget things, so who knows? There may be more. Who knows? Anyway, I'd like to wish everyone there and those listening a happy Thanksgiving. Gobble till you wobble. Remember that Stouffer's is selling Thanksgiving fat pants so we can all eat excessively.
That's Stouffer's.
Stouffer's is selling Thanksgiving fat pants so we can all eat excessively and only hate ourselves a little. Take care, everyone. Ben.
I feel bad, Ben, because I follow... I don't want to say this incorrectly, so I'm going to tiptoe around this, but I feel like...
Now we'll have to have disclaimers. This will be me tiptoeing now.
I interact with Ben a lot on Facebook. To some extent, I feel like we may be clogging up each other's feeds a little bit with the amount of how much that we put out there together. And I don't recall ever seeing anything on the ankle. So I feel bad that I'm just now finding this out and that it was 7 weeks ago.
I follow him on both Facebook and Twitter, and I think I found out about it on Twitter, I believe.
Okay.
Maybe it was Facebook.
I'm sure I follow him on Facebook, on Twitter too, but I'm not on Twitter.
I've known about it, other than because he would update with, he was home for a while, and then he would update.
I remember
with where
seeing
he
those.
and then he was in the office and behind a desk, and he would frequently update on those.
I guess I just missed.
Maybe I
interact
interact with him more than you do.
Maybe you do
on Facebook.
Maybe you do, but I'm sorry that your ankle is broken,
Twisted.
well, whatever happened,
Twinged.
fractured. No, those are all actual terms. I need to come up with something.
Well, get well soon. Heal
Yes.
up wholly, so you can catch back up.
Don't let the man get you down in the office.
Yeah.
All right, shall we move on to our reviews? Actually, first, tell people how they can reach us, Keith.
You can send us feedback by going to our website, travelingthevortex.com, and fill out the Send Us Feedback tab. Or you can send it directly to feedback@travelingthevortex.com. Or as like Twin did. Ooh, Ben did. You can send it via Twitter.
Ben, who twinged his...
Yeah. Twinged his ankle.
Twinged his ankle. Feedback through Twitter.
Yes. Or any other form of social media.
Very good. Now let's move on to our reviews.
ID. In the 32nd century, the Doctor finds himself on a planet piled high with discarded computer technology. Picking over these remains are an army of scandroids, a collection of unsavory, illegal data pirates, and a team of researchers from the mysterious Lonway Clinic. This is a world of organic digital transfer and personality surgery, which the Doctor finds disturbing enough until something far more deadly starts to emerge.
Bum, bum, bum.
I like this one. I quite enjoyed it.
I quite enjoyed this one.
So did I.
I thought we were getting into something kind of standard. It's like, oh, it's a junk planet. Oh, it's digital transfer. Oh, it's ID. Oh, killer robots. Okay. And then it twisted a little bit, and it got darker and more interesting as the idea of having your memory wiped and replaced with somebody else's. And it's like, okay, that's kind of horrific in a way. That's a cool idea, but it's kind of horrific. And then the robots began, and at first it was just they're going to kill off some unnecessary people to show that the robots are a threat. Oh, no, the robots are killing everybody. And gruesomely. I mean, it turned into this real base under siege story. And it did it on a dime. And it did it in a way that I didn't see coming. So I thought that was really cool. That it was like, oh, all right, way to surprise me. Cool. And, of course, Colin Baker's phenomenal. Because he's always phenomenal in these Big Finish stories. And quite humorous and funny when he falls off piles of junk.
And twists his ankle.
The best twist of it was the fact that
not his ankle.
Tevez.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's revealed that she's actually the guy whose data they're looking for. They did that in a nice way where she keeps it very low key. That basically she's in there doing this audit of the system of their system, and she's basically says, well, I'm just an accountant, I can't do anything, but I can put in a grievance, that kind of stuff. And then she goes back to her ship, and it's kind of revealed at that point, and that caught me by surprise. Or it's not, it was her ship when she was getting ready to escape and couldn't, but that completely caught me by surprise. I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. I never suspected that she was this guy who, had basically was dumped into another brain,
and
person's brain.
It was one of those going from a character that, oh, she's an accountant, maybe you fear her just a little bit, to, oh, she's a cool accountant, this is kind of cool, to, all right, she's part of the team, she's going to help him escape, to, oh, no, to, what the hell? That whole, and it was like, wow, because I didn't see any of it coming.
I like that the information actually mutates. What was the main guy? Not the main guy, but the main doctor, Marriott. Yeah, I like that it actually fully, he offloads it into his brain, not realizing what it's ultimately going to do, and it ends up mutating him. That was another thing, is I thought, it's either going to, fry his brain, or no, it's a complete mutation. You can imagine this guy's like some big old beast guy. I thought that was really, really cool too. A lot of surprises, I agree. It kind of goes along a path where you think you're predicting it and expecting it, and then it takes a lot of twists and turns, and I really quite enjoyed that.
And I suppose if you boil it down to the aspects of it, you've got the base under siege, you've got the mad scientist, you've got it's got all the earmarks, the
tropes,
check boxes of a Doctor Who story, but it did them in such an unusual way. It feels like,
well, and the fact that it's all couched in this not necessarily original but unique approach to the technology. The ideas behind all of this are really cool. Of how the mind wipe stuff, it initially is adding personality features that you want for yourself, and then it just takes that to 11 when you shows the dangers of these sort of technologies and these ideas. I think that's one of the strongest aspects of the story,
and
too.
the idea that the guy that being analog is immune to it.
Yeah, Gabe. Yes. Gabe, I really liked him.
He had to touch his computers, and
that was an interesting thing too. Is I thought him and his mother were going to be this big, sort of quasi adversary type, at least side antagonist in this thing, and then ultimately, I mean, she's dead. The robot kills her, but he survives because of his, he's not able to be wired the same way everybody else is, and so then him becoming part of the team, and then they're like, yeah, okay, he's helping out. He's not a total bad guy, and then he ends up injecting her with the data, right? And she ends up mutating the Dr. Tevis, don't they? At one time they're fighting,
the
and the
doctor's
able
upset about it because he's like, well, what? I bought you the time you needed.
So I love the fact that you don't quite like him, but you don't quite hate him, because he goes a little rogue and does his own thing and upsets the Doctor in that way. So the character was really kind of uneven, and I like that about him as well. So that was a lot of things that caught me off guard as well.
It also, I want to just touch briefly on the length, because this winds up being three parts basically.
The right amount.
Yeah. And that is, so many of these Big Finish stories that we get feel like maybe there's just a little bit of padding that's happening to get them to fill out to that 4-part nice Doctor Who structured length. But this one was perfect at 3.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder how many of the other ones maybe we should look at cutting down to 3 and then adding on a little bonus half-hour story for the other segment. But
how many of the classic series sometimes were 3 episodes? It wasn't always 4, so
not many. I think you'd have to go into the Sylvester McCoy era before you got to the 3-parters, because they didn't do. They were always 2 or 4 or 6 throughout, all the way up to. Colin, thank you. And then they switched to 2 nights a week. So
45 minutes.
So there were 2 45-minute episodes, which is the same length as a 4-parter. It just doesn't have that double cliffhanger in it. But then when Sylvester McCoy's era started, they would do the 4 and 4 with 2 3s in the middle. And it was by cutting those middle ones down to 3, the economic reason for it was that allowed them to go on location for the 4-parter. so they could afford that by cutting those 2 parts out. But yeah, that's really the only time you get the 3-parters.
I think it translates well to Big Finish.
But it does translate really well to Big Finish.
I agree. It paces the story really well.
Because there's some of those Sylvester McCoy 3-parters that feel like they should have been 4. But,
yeah.
But some of them I really like at 3 too. So.
Yeah. Overall, a lot of fun, and kept me guessing through the whole thing. I really liked all of the characters, even the ones you're not supposed to like. I like the idea that the medical crew, well, it's a stretch to call them a medical crew, but the medical crew are also kind of these scavengers that are going out to find these pieces in the junk piles, essentially, of this wasted data in order to harvest that so that they can use that in their stuff as well. Counter that, having the pirates out there that, finding the highest bidder. They're doing the same thing, and they're finding the highest bidder so that they can sell it on the quote-unquote black market as well. So I thought that was an interesting concept as well. So I liked it. So overall, it's good.
Maybe it just comes on the heels of, from Thor Ragnarok, where we just had this trash planet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Maybe that kind of carried over some of my enjoyment, because I felt it was very well... I could visualize it very well. And I don't know how much of that was maybe being borrowed from Thor, coming on the heels of that. But it just felt like a very lived-in...
Oh, yeah.
Almost Star Wars-y universe that this particular planet's in.
Speaking of which, and I think that they had the right amount of levity at the beginning, too, because it's kind of light and there's funny moments in it because of the fact that it's going to get really dark and serious as well. So much so that when the doctor steps out of the TARDIS, goes, "Well, hello there," and then you hear him go, you hear him crash. I can literally visualize him tumbling down the piles of junk as he steps out of the TARDIS. I thought that was really, really good. When is it Lake that goes to get the guy that has disappeared and thinks that the pirate, the mom and the Gabe have him held hostage, so she goes to make the negotiation, finds out the doctor, and she's like, okay, that's not him, and leaves. And I thought, he's very taken back by it, like, wait, what? You're not going to help me?
You're not in my budget, pal.
But then they kind of explain that later, too, that even though she turned away, and you kind of think, she didn't have any sort of conscience leaving him back there to die. And then you find out later, well, no, because she's had this pretty much augmented out of her wiring that she has no conscience, and the doctor addresses that with her later, and I thought that was kind of cool too.
Well, and I thought, because that was Claudia Bridge.
Yes, Bridge.
Yeah,
that's what I meant, not Lake Bridge.
I thought she was wound up being a great stand-in companion throughout the entire story, because it had that almost 10th Doctor specials, no companion. You gotta have somebody fill in, and I enjoyed her enough that I would have been okay if she wound up going on the TARDIS for a while.
I agree.
A worthy
audition.
Yes.
Always auditioning.
Constantly. Anything else about this one?
No, let's move on to the next one.
Urgent calls. Earth, 1974. An innocent phone call. Okay, it was a wrong number, but there can't be any harm in that. Can there?
I know how much we hate ranking things, but this is in my top 5 stories of all time of Big Finish. This is one of the greatest stories I've ever heard. And I love it especially because of the format of it.
Yes.
The entire thing is 2 people, with the exception of the friend of, what's her name? I can't even remember the gal's name.
Lauren.
Lauren, thank you. Lauren's friend, who answers the phone at that one point as well. But it's really all done from their audio in this whole thing. Oh, I guess there's the DJ when she calls the radio station.
Yeah.
I love the idea of a virus that is implemented in order for the user to luckily stumble into a situation to get them out of the situation. I love that. I love the setup for it, that she accidentally calls the doctor. He recognizes that she's got something serious wrong with her, sends her to the hospital where Unit steps in. They don't say it so much, but you know it is. In fact, I love the comment of, and then this guy came in, this advisor came in, and he goes, wasn't it a tall guy with white hair, white curly hair, was it? And she goes, no. And she goes, oh, he says, oh, good, thank goodness. Obviously he's referring to his third incarnation. I thought that was funny too. But just the whole format, the back and forth between the two, the performances for just being two people on a telephone was great. It was so good. And it's really heartfelt. And I almost shed a little tear at the end knowing that she was never going to hear from the doctor again because he potentially had solved the situation of this virus. So there was no need to get the lucky calls after that anymore, or calling somebody, in the right situation accidentally. So I can't say anything. I can't say anything bad about this story. It was so much fun. It was so engaging, and it's short. I think that serves it well too. That it was just about a 20-30 minute story, and all done in that format was beautifully done.
I don't know that you could sustain the format for a longer.
I don't think you could. No.
But it utilizes the audio format perfectly. And I love the fact that because we're following it from Lauren's perspective, we don't know what was truly behind everything or if the doctor fixed it. We just assume he did because she doesn't get in touch with him again.
Of course the doctor fixed it.
Of course
he's
does.
the doctor.
But we didn't then switch to the doctor's perspective and get some big long info dump of, okay, here's what solved the problem.
Right.
It just, okay, well, it almost made it real life in the fact of there could be these weird coincidences making you connect with somebody and then those coincidences stop. It's just so relatable, especially for those of us who had non-cell phones back in the day.
It's also kind of nice that near the beginning, the doctor says that he doesn't get calls on the TARDIS, that he often his correspondence is by letter.
Yeah.
And so at the end,
she's
resorting to a letter at the very end, writing him a letter. I thought that was a neat.
That was the tearjerker moment.
Yeah.
It's the perfect format. No, it's the perfect story for Big Finish.
Yeah, you couldn't have done this any other way.
Only Big Finish only could have done this.
Right.
That's still not it, but
Big Finish.
Only
a
Finish
format like Big Finish could you have pulled this kind of story off.
It would not have worked as a television episode. You simply couldn't have done it, or as a book even. I think
you could have done it easier as a book than you could a television series, but not as well as
Right.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this one, and again, Colin is in top form. It seems like he's really just having a blast with these.
Well, I love that she locks him into, it becomes very just a professional situation for him. He needs to get information so that he can further it on. She's very much in the, can we just chat type thing too, and lures him into that. And he's able to kind of fall into that. And yes, of course. And so they do have these little conversations, and you do hear him sort of engaging and enjoying the simple conversation that is something that is out of character for the Sixth Doctor.
He softens
for that, and he actually seems to enjoy the conversation, even though sometimes it feels forced and he feels like he's searching for a way to be conversational with her, but it works really well, and you can kind of feel him fall into it a little bit as well. Just the way that Colin Baker conveys it in his voice, it just works so well.
It really does.
It makes you wonder. It made me wonder where in the timeline maybe this particular story falls.
Yeah.
Because it feels like maybe it's before Evelyn.
Could be, because they do engage in the more conversational way that he and Lauren do. Lauren?
Yeah.
Already forgot her name. Yes, Lauren. Do. So that's a good point. It probably is between, because this isn't something you could see him doing with Perry necessarily, or Mel, or anybody else he's traveled with. I know we haven't gotten that far. I listened to Last Adventure, so I have heard a couple other companions, but
Flip,
Jaggle and Lightfoot,
Frobisher.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. He could probably talk this way for
No,
it'd be more combative.
Yeah, it would be very combative. High marks. I can't say anything bad about this one at all.
It's just a fun story.
It is
really
so well done, and I think it as you said, you couldn't have done this for more. It wouldn't have sustained more than 30 minutes of the story.
No.
And that's probably why. And so it's hard for me to endear to it, to say, well, this is one of the best audios I've heard, because the format is so different and because of the time limitations. But I mark that up there as this is certainly one of the best things I've ever heard come out of the main range.
It's such a, we've talked before about how Big Finish takes these stories that deal so heavily with audio and they find a way to really
capitalize on.
Just take advantage and capitalize, and they just gel. It works so well for them. And we've had a couple that have been Soundwave monsters, or this, or well, we have to do it this way. Okay, fine, and it works. And then just to actually do one it's a telephone conversation, and somebody at Big Finish went, "Ooh, we could do that." Yep. I mean, that's very clever.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the comics?
Yes, let's. The Dr. Alice and the Sapling, now growing further into adulthood, take on a new wave of insane adventures. Still missing many of their most treasured memories, the TARDIS team stumble across a memory arc, and their reality starts to fray further at the edges. Then, can the Doctor and Alice stop the Sapling from growing into the genocidal creature of destruction that it may be doomed to be? That's the back of the graphic novel for Volume 2.
Bum, bum, bum. It's there. It was enjoyable. It wasn't as...
I really did not like the art of these first two stories.
Okay, thank you.
That was my biggest... The storytelling was fine. I just did not like the art. And it's not just the art for the 11th Doctor's Run, because you get to Fooled, and I enjoyed the art of that one. I thought the art was fantastic. And I'm one of the people, I could not read... Oh, what's the Frank Miller Batman?
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight Returns.
Dark Knight Returns. I could not read that because I could not get past the art. And so I struggled with this story just because of the art aspect of it.
Frank Miller's Sin City is along the same lines. It's a tough one to visually read. I think the movie's amazing, but the comic itself is kind of a tough read because it's so stark in that way. I hate to...
We try not to bag on the art.
We try not to bag on the art and tiptoe around this. But traditionally what winds up happening is you get a launch title, and the comic book company will put this A-list writer and their top artist on it. And they put the comic out, and it's phenomenal. And they stay together for about 6 months to maybe a year, and then the artist moves on to something else. And maybe the writer sticks around for another year, but now they've got kind of a B-list artist on it. And he's still churning out good stuff, but it's just not quite what it was in that first year. And then the author moves on, and they bring in somebody else to take over the line, and that artist moves on, and the C-list artist kind of comes in. And it becomes to the point where usually at about that I'm starting to tune out, because it's not that the stories aren't good, but they're just not visually arresting for me anymore. And it gets harder and harder and harder to stick around for some of these comic titles when they keep changing them. And it just kind of keeps, because the A-listers go on to launch the next thing. And so nobody seems like they have the loyalty to that. Now, Titan has kind of always done things a little differently, where it seems like they've got a stable of authors that are writers artists, that they kind of rotate in and out, and that somebody will do an arc, and then they'll have somebody else come in and do the next arc, and then maybe that first artist comes back for the next phase of it, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've always commented that I like the kind of simplistic, not childish, but childlike way they've captured the 11th Doctor previously in this line. That his particular comic art has been very comic-like, and it's been very kind of almost simplistic, with his kind of, just little beady eye pupils and, button nose and that kind of stuff. And I have minded because it's really worked for it. I suffered the same problem with these. I really struggled on the first two issues because it got to the point where it almost... There's a couple of very nice splash pages or panels, but it felt like so much of it was very just... I'm going to draw one person in the center of the frame as large as I can get them so I don't have to draw a background. And I feel cheated anytime we get to that point in a comic. So that aspect of it really took me out of the elements of the storytelling. And it was frustrating because the visuals were not matching the story that was being told. I thought the story was interesting. Yeah. I enjoyed the story part of it. But the
why
artwork
don't we talk
really...
about the story?
Okay,
Since we haven't done that yet. And I'll say you both are wrong. The art is just fine. It's not the greatest artwork I've ever seen, but the art looks great. That's all I'll say about the art, because I think the story is the most engaging part about it. So I think that's the most important thing.
All right, Glenn, bring
I think the story is
Let's see where we
clever.
go.
I like the fact that they have come across this arc in space, for less of a better term.
I see what you did there.
I like that they discover that. I love the bigger on the inside aspect of it. The fact that the Doctor is trying to figure out if there is some sort of Time Lord technology going on here.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's basically an interface. It's like a holodeck. It's like being on a giant holodeck, and all these little panels create these illusion. I like the villain of this, which are I don't even remember what they called them, but they're sort of these pseudo ghost echo things that eat on memories and feed on memories, and they almost have a zombie like aspect to them, but actually more of an infestation, maybe even more of a bug quality, of the fact that they just continue to feed on memories. I like the fact that it's this race of people that have passed, that are gone, that they don't exist anymore, but they want their memory to live on. And the one guy who everything's kind of plugged into to let this arc go through space and have their memory live on. I love the idea of the Doctor showing up, saving the day, basically overloading them. Say, well, if you want to feast on it, feast, and basically letting their glutton be their own demise. So it doesn't necessarily make the Doctor, becoming very, we got to kill them. It's kind of their choice. You feed on it and let it go.
Yeah.
And I like that resolution of it as well. I like this 2-story arc very well. I thought it was very well paced, and that's it. And the artwork is good.
Once again, a little bit of
artwork is
serendipity that our Friday Night Who selection this week was the Rings of Akaton.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's certainly
It's
true.
almost like I planned it.
That's very close.
I completely agree with what you say, Glenn, about this story. It's very engaging, and once I could kind of get past the art, I really got hooked into it and really got dragged in and really enjoyed the ride.
Cool. Let's do the next set.
Well, the next one, Fooled, which I quite enjoyed. So it's them in a fair, and this guy takes the sapling's picture and starts stealing other people's memories on accident. So it feels like it's a setup for a future story arc, because it never doesn't fully get resolved.
I think the one thing I was most confused about is that it seems like they show up at this fair, which I think is supposed to be kind of maybe a quasi Renfest thing. But isn't there a big giant statue?
And they never address it.
They don't. In fact, it's almost like it's a device, because somebody comes by the sapling and he says, "Oh, great costume! You must have worked a long time on that." So I get the impression that the sapling could run around looking like he did, because there's a big giant statue of one of these saplings there. They never really explain that.
No, they really don't.
And I bring that up first because that's right there
That's
from
the
the
first
get-go.
panel.
Yeah, and you don't get any resolution of what that is. Besides that, I agree. I like the idea of this creature that's dressed up as a fool taking pictures and stealing memories, but it has the reverse effect with the sapling. Because of the entity that he is, he ends up drawing those memories that those people around him have lost, and they kind of figure that out as they go along. And
and just the idea of 11, Alice, and the sapling going to this fair and just having fun is just delightful.
It's a nice change.
It's a breakaway, because you don't
Yeah.
often get that. You don't often get that, even though they do end up in a situation that they have to help resolve. It is a break. They are enjoying themselves. They're having ice cream. The Doctor's having ice cream, and he's having more ice cream, and he's having more ice cream.
And in the last arc and this story, they have the voice of 11 so well.
Yeah,
and he's
I think
doing
so.
all sorts of different things that 11 would totally do the entire time he's at this fair, being so ridiculous.
Yes, agreed. Right down to the I love the through line of the hook-a-duck too, where that's his favorite thing, and he's going to go, I'll show you how it's done. And of course he can't hook a duck through the whole time. But then as they're chasing down the fool, of course he successfully hooks the fool.
Yeah.
Oh, the games are all rigged at the fair.
Right. When you're hooking a real thing, you're good to go. Yeah, good point. I hadn't thought of that.
That's proof.
I like that the sapling comes to the conclusion too that this kind of helps him understand, because those memories go away from him after they're returned to their rightful
Yeah.
people, he does understand, and in fact, he's apologizing to the doctor and Alice that, if this is what it feels like to lose memories, I feel bad for what I have done to you guys, and that was kind of a neat little moment there as well.
Not only was it a neat moment, I feel like it was a needed moment because it's something that the sapling's an interesting character, but I feel like I'm ready for it to be done because I'm kind of tired of the Doctor and Alice having these holes in their memory that just very conveniently keep playing into every arc that have come along. And obviously it's a longer arc that we're setting up with the sapling and where this is going. But it's just kind of like, okay, I'm ready for my Doctor to come back. I'm tired of him being hampered and hamstrung by this entity that doesn't mean to be what he is. He can't help it, and yet he is. So it was nice for him to finally acknowledge, oh, dude, I'm sorry. Yeah, and it was just like, okay, cool. I needed that to kind of,
I agree,
to soften the character a little bit.
The next story,
which we're not entirely sure where it comes from, because it's in the graphic novel,
but we're not doing that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that.
Well, we don't necessarily need to because, well, we could talk about.
I read it.
Yeah, I did too. If we want to talk about it, we could. If we're doing the graphic novel because it's a little more convenient for us. But if anybody's following along, they would not necessarily have read this piece because
true, unless
we got the bonus unless they picked up the special issue that it came in. So we could talk about it if you guys want to, or we can just go with what we originally had talked about reviewing. But I did indeed read it as well. So,
Well, you guys ready to go ahead and read it? It's covered. We're here. Or not.
Well, did you have much to say about it, Glenn?
I'm trying to remember what it was about.
Them tracking down the Doctor's teacup.
Oh,
His
right,
mug.
right, yeah. With the, well, that was the weird thing about it too. Is you got the impression that these were like Ravengers or something that they end up encountering, right?
Yeah, like punk rock, weird. And then it's just kind of, they track down this mug, and that's the end of the story.
I think it feels like one of those little interlude things that isn't just thrown into a novel. I think this might have been, I don't want to say it's a free comic book, because I think we've gotten all the free comic books.
I was going to say, it
but
feels like it's a
must
free
be,
comic book day type
yeah,
story.
it feels like a special thing that they have released. But yeah, the importance of this cup becomes the drive as to why they have to get to the bridge of this ship before it, basically, the ship, they had to go through like 400 and some protocols, which I thought was funny too, because he said, this could be a little dangerous, and then they go through all the different protocols, and Alice makes the comment of a little dangerous.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of funny, but it was a nice little aside. It's a fun little throw in there, and it's a little foolish because he is really only trying to get a coffee mug that Alice points out you could buy this on Earth.
No, it's part of a set. What I think what I like the most about it is the fact it's kind of a break from the sapling, and it's Alice and 11 together just being themselves, and we have these other characters, but they're not really that big of a thrust of the story. So it's kind of the comic pairing that I really enjoy.
I would agree.
I do enjoy 11 and Alice together a lot.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one.
Strange Loops.
Ultimately is my least favorite of the set, but it's not that I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was pretty good. I think it's a little more tug at the heartstrings. Come to this planet that has gone from natural to industrialized immediately. Doctor knows there's something wrong. They've got this vortex energy issue that keeps wreaking havoc with his body because there's something wrong there. He clearly knows from the effects they're having on his body that there's Time Lord technology there. Finds these, comes back to this planet, which there's another convenience in the fact that he can't remember these people, but he's clearly met them before because they know him and they know of him, and they know.
Yeah.
And then to come across this, I actually kind of like this idea of the story is the big cliffhanger at the end of the first part of this story is the fact that there's this young Gallifreyan child who obviously is a little disfigured, but the Doctor's like, okay, what's this? What's going on? And I kind of thought, I wonder how they're going to go where they're going to go with this. This is, because it would be interesting to find another Time Lord or Time Lady that has survived.
Yeah.
Because we're under the impression that, with the exception of him and the Master, all of the other Time Lords were wiped out. And I thought, I wonder where they're going to go with this. And so I was really appreciative that they were creative enough for her to be the interface for another weapon that was in the Omega arsenal.
Yeah.
I thought that was a clever idea.
What the weapon does, I thought was really clever too.
Yes, agreed. And then to find out that this what they call them, the Golden Triangle, something triangle. Anyway, came across this device, and they're basically running a con job on the planet by advancing their knowledge of technology in order to speed up the industrialization of this planet, which is very unnatural, but they're gaining everything they need from it. That's the other thing, is it comes across as though this Golden Triangle, you think they must be malignant. Thank you. You think they must be malignant, but then they kind of paint them as this wise core that are protecting I think they call it the orphan. The interface was called the orphan, right?
Yeah.
So you think, okay, so you're not quite sure what to think of them, and then they do kind of surprise you with the fact that they just stumbled across this piece of technology, used it to their advantage. They're really not any smarter than anybody else, other than they're getting basically
using it to their advantage.
They're getting an advantage.
Artists.
Yeah, they're con artists that have conned this. It's really sad how it ends, and that the orphan actually kind of gives her life in order to save. Oh, don't open that one. That's the wrong one. I was trying to open the issue number 11, and I opened issue number 10. Spoilers. Trying to stay away from that one.
Well, while you switch that out, I'll go one step further. That the idea of the orphan, and when the Doctor even comments, who named her orphan? I mean, that's the only thing she remembers. And then we get the backstory where it's this Time Lord weapon called the Orphaned Hour.
Yeah.
And it's like, score another one for awesome Time War names.
Yeah.
What a great time. And the fact that of what it does, that it basically, anything within a certain radius gets hurled back in time. It's literally an Orphaned Hour. And it's
Agreed.
like, oh, wow. That's cool. And then, like the moment, this is the interface. This is the representation of how you would interact with this particular weapon. That's just cool.
I can't wait until we listen to the War Doctor stories that they've done with Big Finish, because there's a lot of great weapons that he's basically chasing down that have these same kind of really high-minded concepts that are a lot of fun. So
it's so nice revisiting the Omega arsenal in these little different formats. I really like that. Anytime that pops up, it's like, ooh, another one.
Well, and it really kind of gives you a breadth of discovery of how much the Time Lords really had in their arsenal of weapons they could have used, and in some situations tried to use.
Yeah, and in this instance, it's so cool that it's taken outside of the Time War to explore the idea. I really like that aspect of it too, is that we're not dipping back into the Time War.
It's a relic that has fallen outside of the Time War.
A remnant of the Time War.
And how much, who was in charge of the naming department? Because you get the idea that it had to have been the mysterious third that came up with all of these. Because Rassilon, everything was the SAS of Rassilon, the key of Rassilon, everything had his name in it. And Omega, we have the Hand of Omega, we've got the Omega Arsenal. Obviously, these two guys are not very inventive on the name front. But whoever the third person was...
So depending on who you ask, the Doctor?
Yeah, it was either the Doctor or somebody else was very inventive with the other. The other came up with all these cool names like the Moment and the Orphaned Hour and that stuff.
Yeah.
That was all this person that came up with that.
I think what it also does is, for the longest time, and Day of the Doctor kind of did a little bit to say, yes, there was this arsenal of stuff. But when you take the Moment and all of the backstory of this, well, they just had this one all-powerful weapon that wiped everything out. The Doctor did push the button, did the Moment. And you kind of think, that in itself is kind of like a weak convenience. There's just this one thing. But as you add to this arsenal and realize that, the Moment is just one piece of this entire stockpile of weapons that the Time Lords have, it really kind of makes the Moment, I don't want to say more palatable, because I was fine with the Moment. I thought it was a great idea conceptually, but it really kind of, it narrows it down to hey, there were really a lot of things out there that were being used and could have been used, and this was the ultimate weapon. So
Yeah.
I think it really kind of helps that along as well. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see more stories around certain things.
Well, now I'm curious if we'll be able to watch Shada and retcon the book
oh, yeah.
into maybe. Just saying.
Could be.
Possible.
Maybe that's out there.
He clearly thought that was going to be dangerous, too. So, although the book was a key. It wasn't a weapon. It was a key. So,
But what does it unlock?
well,
Well, the prison.
the prison. Because it was a key.
I'll find a way to make it fit.
River can get into that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We know she's done it. Very good. Overall,
And then we got the return of the scream at the end.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was the other thing that was
Which-
a through line through this is the fact that the
Kind of a
scream
through
is
line,
kind of
'cause it
there.
was
Well,
like-
it starts the
it bookended
story
it, yeah.
and it ends the story. but-
It felt that part of the story felt a little tacked on just because it was so much of, oh, we got to remind you that he's there
Well,
more than anything else.
I
It
think
felt
it's
like
I think it's very helpful in this case because
I had completely forgotten about him.
that's just it. Well, I see what you did there. But I think it works. It works there as a
Really?
reminder because we have done a good number of stories here now without the scream.
Yeah.
And so I think they had to realize, okay, we need to put that reminder in there, especially since we're going to step away for Lost Dimension within this series. So if you were reading these chronologically, you're going to step away one more book than we're even going to do because we're doing Lost Dimension as one through storyline. And who knows the next couple? I mean, maybe this was a setup to bring us back into the
It
screen.
probably is
But
because I think we're ramping up now to
So
the end of the season.
I think that's the pepper him in so that we can get into the big finale here. So
'Cause we'll have
there's
four
only
issues
four
left
issues
now,
left.
so.
Yeah, so.
I didn't realize, speaking of artwork, in the issue 11, when they get done and the doctor tosses them the book on how to, carbon sequestration for children, a beginner's guide, that's going to take care of your atmospheric problems. He pulls the gas mask off. And I didn't really realize it until going back and looking at it. It's very organic.
It is.
It
Very,
is. very
It's
organic.
almost like a jellyfish. And suddenly, I find this much more interesting of a planet than I had first given it credit for, because the whole point of what they were doing with the Orphaned Hour was kind of resetting the time and keeping all the technology so that they could have this huge leap forward in this industrial revolution. And for a planet that's all about industry and science and let's move forward as quickly as fastly as possible and take credit for it, that they've got this organic thing that filters things out. That suddenly strikes me as very cool.
That's a good point. I hadn't
Yeah,
thought of that.
that's true.
I didn't think of that until just now going back and looking at it. That was neither here nor there. But. No, I kind of like. Just the fact that the Scream is hanging out on the TARDIS.
On the outside,
He's been riding around with them, clinging to the light bulb for however many issues now.
Apparently, he and Captain Jack can live
Yes.
outside in the.
yeah.
But now he's finally gotten in,
Yes.
which is scary.
big cliffhanger ending. Very good. All right. Well, Sean, what do we have coming up on the schedule?
On the schedule for next week on the podcast, we are reviewing some more comics. This time we're going to go to the 12th Doctor, Titan Comics, which are issues 1 through 4, which on the website is incorrect. It says 5, but that starts a new line, so we're not going to do that. So 1 through 4 of Titan Comics 12th Doctor. This is the 3rd season, right? What they consider year 3.
Year 3.
We'll be reviewing those, and we will also be reviewing Big Finish number... Son of the Dragon?
99.
99?
It's 99, 90. I just had it up here.
One of the 90s.
Maybe 98. I think it's 99. Hang on.
I think it's 99. I think you're right.
Momentarily. Because I was just thinking, oh, that's really close to 100, although we've done 100 already. But
Yeah, we have done it. Whatever number it is, it
is 99. Yes.
Son of the Dragon.
99.
So we'll be covering that, which is part of the main line. And then our Friday Night Who offering, if you tend to join in with us, is Caves of Androzani. So some 5th Doctor, and not just some 5th Doctor action, some very, very good 5th Doctor action.
The best.
And so says Glenn.
The best.
The end of the 5th
The
Doctor.
end of the 5th Doctor.
It's funny that the 5th Doctor isn't necessarily even my favorite Doctor, but my favorite TV story is Caves, and my favorite Big Finish story is
Spare parts.
They need to do a comic series. Maybe that'll be my favorite.
Well, we've done 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. So maybe he's
in
coming.
the pipeline there somewhere.
Maybe he's coming.
You just need to find a Fifth Doctor novel that you love too.
Yeah. I don't think I've read any Fifth Doctor novels yet, so we'll see.
Can't even think of any that they've released off the top of my head. I'm sure there are out there.
Oh, yeah,
there's a bunch.
But I don't even own any.
The
so.
Missing Doctors, or not missing,
Adventures.
Past Doctor Adventures.
Or what are they called?
Missing. I think
Is it the Missing Years?
The
or the
Target Missing Adventures. I think is what the ones that ran congruent with New Adventures. I think is the Missing.
But New Adventures were all Seventh Doctor Ace.
New Adventures were all Seventh Doctor Ace, and the Missing Adventures they dip back into several past.
Skip
Doctors.
around. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure there's a. In fact, I think there's one called Goth Opera, which is a pseudo sequel to State of Decay.
It is
because the Great Vampires come back.
It's got Nissa.
Oh.
Yes.
Yep.
I've read that one. I think.
Oh, you have? Okay.
I think.
That's on my bookshelf, but I have not picked it up yet. So maybe that'll be my favorite.
I think I gave it to you then because I think that might be my copy.
No.
Not that I want it back.
I say bookshelf, I mean digital bookshelf.
Oh, digital bookshelf. Oh, I used to own a real copy of it. I don't know where it is
I don't
now,
have a physical copy.
Anyway, yes, that's on the docket for next week.
Excellent.
Cool. Well, if you would like to and you can, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Become a patron of the podcast. You can find a link on our website, travelingthevortex.com. It'll take you right there and walk you through it, and we'd appreciate any help. Anything else we need to touch on this week before we close this show? Keith's over there yawning, so it's past his bedtime.
Past my bedtime.
Ditto.
All right, that's going to do it for this week. Until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.